I ran the math on some of my mom's numbers a few weeks ago. All of it, the income, expenses, investments, trips, everything, all in one place. And when I was done, I just sat there for a minute because the numbers don't add up. Not in a bad way, in a way that looks impossible on paper. But I lived every single piece of it, so I know it's real. I'm 15 now, and I finally get it well enough to actually explain it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to walk through the math together, and somewhere in the middle of it, something's gonna click. Let me start with the number. Single mom, regular income, no inheritance, no business that took off, no lucky break, just a regular paycheck. The kind most people have and feel like it's not enough. And from that paycheck, over roughly a decade, she built a $25,000 emergency fund, fully funded, sitting there. She invests 35% of her income every month. Not occasionally, every month. We've traveled to 20 countries across 5 continents together, on school breaks, without debt, not once. Those 3 things sound like they belong to 3 different financial lives, not one. $25,000 in savings, 35% invested monthly, 20 countries, same paycheck the whole time. When I laid all of that out, my first thought was that it doesn't add up. The second thought was, so where's the money actually coming from? That's what this whole video's answering. Most people look at their income and think, that's what I've got to work with. My mom looked at her income and thought, that's what came in. The question's how much is actually staying. Those are 2 completely different questions. And when she looked at the answer, it wasn't great. She spent 1 month writing down every single purchase, every receipt, everything. And at the end of that month, she found holes. Not big dramatic ones, small ones that don't feel like anything in the moment, but add up to real money over a year. Subscriptions she'd forgotten about, convenience store runs, full price purchases she could have waited on. All of it together was money that was leaving without her permission. She plugged the holes, the margin appeared. But plugging the holes was just the start. What she did with the margin, that's where the real answer lives. She applied 3 words to every purchase going forward. When, where, how. When, she only bought things when the price was actually right. If meat was on sale, she stocked up. If something wasn't urgent and wasn't on sale, she waited. The sale always comes. Where, she knew which stores gave real value on things she actually needed, and she shopped there on purpose, not out of habit. How, she paid for everything on a cashback rewards card, not to spend more, because the money was already set aside. The card was just the method. She paid off the full balance every month, never once paid interest, and at the end of the year, she collected the cash back. Money earned on dollars she was going to spend anyway. When, where, how didn't look dramatic. It never does from the outside. But nearly a decade of it, that's where the money was hiding. Not in a raise, not in a side hustle, in the gap between what was coming in and what she was letting leave. So this is the part I didn't expect to find when I ran the math. The part that actually surprised me. My mom never talked about any of this. Not to friends, not anywhere online, not to anyone. She just did it, quietly, for almost a decade, while I was growing up beside her. And I only started to understand what she was actually building when I was old enough to ask the right questions. She made a decision early on, before I was old enough to understand what money even was, that she was going to live below what she made, not in a punishing way, in a purposeful way. She didn't drive the newest car when the old one still worked. She didn't upgrade things because an upgrade existed. She didn't spend to look a certain way to people who weren't paying her bills. She spent on what mattered. She saved on everything else. And she did it so quietly that nobody around her noticed it was a strategy. That's the part that doesn't add up until you understand what she was actually doing. The income wasn't the variable, the margin was, and she grew it on purpose, quietly, for nearly a decade. The $25,000 emergency fund didn't come from a windfall. It came from the margin that got wider every year she applied the system. The 35% invested monthly didn't come from a promotion. It's the same margin. And the 20 countries didn't come from a travel fund. They came from a flight strategy that saved about 50% every time. and the savings became the budget for everything else on the trip. 3 outcomes, one source, the margin. And that's the math that didn't add up until now. When I tell people my mom invested 35% of her income, they assume she makes a lot. When I tell them she has a $25,000 emergency fund, they assume something big happened to make it possible. When I tell them we've been to 20 countries, they assume there's a travel fund somewhere. None of those assumptions are right. The number everyone's missing isn't income, it's margin. And margin isn't a rich person thing, it's a decision. You grow it by plugging the holes. You protect it by applying when, where, how. You multiply it by letting time and compound interest do the work. My mom started that decade with a regular paycheck and a decision. The math looks impossible because people are only looking at the income side of the equation. She was working on the other side the whole time. I'm 15. My mom figured this out before I was old enough to understand what she was doing. I grew up watching it, and now I'm sharing it because nobody taught either of us this in school. And the fact that I'm here at 15 with a channel called Wandering Vienna, having been to 20 countries, is proof that it works. Not theory, actual life. If you want to see the whole system, how to plug the holes, how, when, where, how works in practice, how the Wander window gets us about 50% off flights, it's all on this channel. Start wherever makes the most sense for you, where you are right now. Comment below if this just changed how you see things. Subscribe to Wandering Vienna if you haven't yet. Hit the like button. It tells the algorithm you liked this content. I post content like this every single week, and I don't want you to miss what's coming. Share this with a friend who you think needs to hear this. I'm Vienna, this is Wandering Vienna, and make sure to come back because there's always more to explore. Bye!